I'm enjoying the uselessness of today and readying my usefulness for tomorrow. And soon, I'll get to do a lot more than throw rocks.
Gustave from Clair Obscur is one of those characters that just stay with you long after the story ends. But why does this stubborn, heartfelt man resonate so deeply? Let's unpack how direction, story structure, and character writing make him so unforgettable, and why he might grab your heart too. As the beautiful melody of Lumière sets in, we first experience the world of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 through the introduction of Gustave. Well-dressed, luscious hair, a true portrait of the most idealized French Belle Époque painting. A man throwing rocks at the faraway monolith, only for them to be swallowed by the sea. We dive into this game with this visual representation of a struggle, a man trying in vain and desperation to reach the unreachable. There's something almost childish in the act of throwing rocks, which feels even more pitiful when put into contrast with the fatalist reality of the gommage. This is the first idea we're exposed to with Gustave. He is the embodiment of fatality weighing on human shoulders. By the way, if you end up liking what I do this every week, so you can join us by subscribing and liking the video. You'd be very welcomed. The song in the background, Lumière, can be seen as Gustave's theme in a way, because he's our introduction to the dystopian city. In the lyrics, there's an idea of Gustave being a guardian, which fits the role of engineer and expeditioner really well, but most importantly, leads us to his relationship with Maëlle beautifully. His relationship with his foster sister allows us to delve into another aspect that makes him so lovable. He's a loving mentor. We can see him revealing his sarcastic banter with this girl he takes care of and considers family. We even learn that Gustave has a few apprentices in Lumière that he watches over. All in all, he's a man that takes care of others, as we'll be able to expand upon further down the line. It also reveals that one of the core themes of his character will turn out to be legacy. Very quickly, we meet Sophie, his ex-lover.
You know, I'm sorry that... I
You
miss
don't
you
need
too.
to... Okay,
You go.
you...
What's really endearing about this exchange is that they're clearly still profoundly in love with each other. But most importantly for today's theme, it highlights one of the biggest reasons why we love Gustave. He's an awkward and stubborn dork. And for how cute they are, the idea that they can't embrace their love is just another example of this oppression that weighs on Gustave's shoulders. And to further emphasize to the player the fact that Gustave is a sensible, romantic, and caring companion, we will accompany him through an indescribable pain, giving his best company to the woman he loves until she disappears. Sophie's death is the moment that the hook crushes us with the harsh reality of this world. Nothing makes it clearer than the despair in Gustave's eyes. He's left alone after his love fades to nothingness. And it crushes you. They wrote the awkwardness so well, mixed with clear familiarity and lingering longing. You can't help but feel for these classic French love story protagonists, because this perfect painting will never show its true colors. One of the key elements to make a character's aspect believable to the player is having other characters react to him in a certain way. See how Gustave's friends tried to cheer him up at the festival. They cared for him before we did, and it laid the path emotionally. This introduction closes with this grim reminder of the main theme of Clair Obscur: grief. Even in a world where it is so prevalent and normalized, it still feels devastating and violent. Yet, even as the crushing sadness hits us, something begins to flicker. That despair is a catalyst, and hope is born. This is what Expedition 33 is all about. This faintest light of hope, even through the all-consuming despair. In other words, the contrast in the notion of Clair Obscur. But as much as Gustave is a bearer of hope in this prologue, lifting us up in the face of tragedy to prepare us for this game, this will quickly come to an end.
Which expedition are you from? Fall back!
The massacre of Expedition 33 is a devastating event, which presents a peculiar characteristic for the structure of the story. All hope disappears from the beginning. Absolutely brutal. But what is really interesting in this horrible loss is the fact that it puts into light another huge aspect that makes Gustave so lovable. He gives up. Completely. If it wasn't for Lune, he would have killed himself in that cave. It shows vulnerability at the deepest of levels, which can feel very unusual to a hero figure. But for us, it feels strikingly relatable, much more so than an inspirational legendary character that never fails. Yes, he gave up, because that loving man had no one left to love. Thus, inevitably, when he learns that his sister Maëlle is still alive, the fire reignites immediately. A bit too bright, actually. As we've stated before, Gustave is a very stubborn character, but also very impulsive and hot-headed. In one word, emotional. He wears his heart on his sleeve. The opposition with Lune's more rational mind is quite interesting too, and also makes for a great complementary bond between them. Even though in this exchange there's also a tremendous amount of shame and guilt, and Gustave gives up once again in a way. Not on Maëlle, but on the mission. Very interesting times in the game are when the expeditions make camp. Gustave takes the time to write in his journal what happens. In this meditative moment between Gustave and his thoughts, it's a great bonding moment for the players. Here we are witness to a man in his most intimate vulnerability, in a moment of peace between the hardships. Those calms before the storm are important for us to get attached. We enjoy those evenings like they could be the last. And we're there to back him up as he's trying his best to crawl out of the abyss. And oh, does it feel good when he finds Maëlle again. There's something to keep the fire going. There's someone to love after soul-crushing losses like his comrades or Sophie. There's his sister. And they'll fight together. Gustave feels better now, as Lune can see. He found purpose again in the mission that they set themselves on when they left the shores of Lumière. Stopping the gommage. For all the ones who fail, and for those who come after. Most of the arcs centered around the Gestrels show Gustave as alive as can be, not only for how loving and caring he can be.
You okay? You've been quiet since we left the village.
Yeah, sorry.
But also for how much of a goof he can be.
Look, I am very sorry. It's just that Golgra told us that's the password and
Come on, it's a Gestrel. He'll have forgotten in about a minute.
Or how sorrow still affects him. But the most important part of this act is his relationship with Maëlle. As they're together again, his love truly shines and it radiates out of the screen. When he listens to her laments, tries to make her laugh, advises her, and protects her. It's a very beautiful time. And it's necessary. Necessary to prepare Maëlle for the rest of her adventures. Because, like most mentor figures in stories, Gustave is not set to be around forever. Gustave's death ripples through the story in many ways. First, because our loss with his parting plunges us directly in the main theme of the game. It's our turn to grieve now. We got attached, we laughed, we cried, we loved, and now we grieve. Second, because in this paradigm-changing story, Gustave will remain an anchor for us to never forget about one thing. The people of Lumière are real. Even though they were created, they have dreams, loves, laughs, tears, hopes. Our fallen comrade will always be a reminder of it. And he will be especially for Maëlle. Part of Maëlle's journey will be about overcoming her grief in the same way that the players will have to. And how rough it is. Verso immediately replaces our men in the party in a clunky way. The expedition has to move on quickly. Maëlle, Ciel, Lune are given very little time to process it. Even when the end of the game comes and the people of Lumière feels like an afterthought, we still remember Gustave. We struggle to side with Verso because our men showed us that the people of Lumière can be as real and palpable and sentient as can be. He showed us that the erasure of their lives is not a meaningless act whatsoever. And thus it gives a lot of weight to the last choice of the player whether or not to destroy this world. In the end, this dorky, lovable hothead is our symbol of grief, hope, and legacy. A symbol of love and compassion, of an exemplary family. And because he ties together all those main core themes of the game, I consider Gustave to be the heart of Clair Obscur. Gustave's name is quite interesting. It could be a reference to multiple people, like Gustave Eiffel, who was the architect for the Eiffel Tower, or Gustave Moreau, who was a very prominent figure in the symbolist era. We find a lot of that ethereal, melancholic feel of the symbolism in Clair Obscur, so that would make a lot of sense actually. And hey, when you look at our man with the face of Robert Pattinson and the voice of Charlie Cox, yeah, definitely got some advantages when it comes to being lovable. As a Frenchman, I can only be delighted to put into light this modern, classy representation of a part of our culture. Honestly, it strengthens my attachment to the character even more. I think it's the sacrificing aspect of the character that makes me connect to him so much. Not only his death, but this genuine care for the feeling of others. Add to it the beautiful music, and I think a part of me will always remember Gustave. Tell me in the comments if you think I missed anything about the character, because I am dying to absorb as much possible about him. But anyway, that is it for the day. And if you enjoyed this, I hope I will see you soon for another video. See you then.